Cool, we will do that. All right, everyone can see my screen as well, yes?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we're all seasoned professionals. We've all done webinars before. You know to stay muted unless you're actually talking. Please don't be Rob. Please don't be that guy. Don't make me show you the terrible meme. So I would appreciate it. So to kick off, we'll do, because it's virtual, it's a little bit more complicated than doing like introductions. So I'll just call out people individually. If you don't want to be called out, just let me know, because I can see a couple people don't have their cameras on, so that's perfectly fine. And we'll just kind of run through these little questions real quick. We'll keep it nice and sweet and short. And I love that the last question is really like not applicable right now as well. So my name is Emma Darcy. I am a pre-sales consultant at Click Dimensions. Our Dynamics version is, we're on 9.2 for production, but I work with clients from 2011 all the way up. I did attend a UG conference this year. Well, yeah, Scottish Summit was technically a UG conference, I suppose, not one of the classic ones. And I do intend on attending Summit in Barcelona, which probably won't happen, and also Nashville. We'll see what happens there as well. I'm hoping to just learn some stuff. I have some I'm really excited about our speakers today. The fact that we can be virtual means we can have Michael from Germany speak about something that I think is really applicable in today's world. So that's really cool. I'm very excited about it. Mary's going to share some really interesting things about how she hasn't murdered her children yet. It's really insightful. And Paige is going to go through wave 1, which is really exciting. So today's sessions are really awesome. And then if I could visit any place in the world, it would actually be South Korea. I've always been really fascinated by their culture and their food. So in my screen, I have Jeff, if you want to go next.
Jeff Abels? Emma, Jeff Abels or Jeff Rath?
Sorry, Jeff. Jeff Abels, you're on my screen.
Okay.
So I see next.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Jeff Abels with C5 Insight. I'm a co-worker of Paige, who will be presenting some today. We're in CRM Online. We've just finished finally being the last one of all of our clients to get to move over fully to the unified interface. We've been kind of half in it, half out of it for a few months now, but we finally finished that little journey. Paige will correct me on it as she does on just about everything else. Today's meeting, I'm just looking forward to meeting you guys and learning some new topics. I got to already hear Paige's awesome presentation as an internal lunch and learn, although I'm sure she's probably tweaked it some even more since then, so picking some stuff up from there as well. Any place in the world, there's such a long list on my bucket list, but next on the bucket list was Italy, which was supposed to happen in May, but now it's not going to happen in May, so we're going to figure out when we can do Italy.
Great. I have Paige, or not Paige next, sorry. Mary, you're next.
Thanks. So I'm Mary Thompson. I work as a functional consultant at Armanino. I hardly even mess with CRM. I don't know. We're on the online one. I do ERP implementations and don't typically have to manage the CRM side. So there you go. No, I wasn't able to. I'm personally excited that everything has moved to online. I don't get a chance to be able to travel a whole lot and justify to my boss that I am worthy of compensation to go to such conferences. So it's fun for me to be able to be here and experience new things. So so no, I didn't go to any, but hope to catch some really good online ones. What I hope to gain from today's meeting. I am interested to hear about some of the different new wave applications and the different platforms, whether I use them or not. They're kind of fun to pull out on occasion and sound like I know something. So I'm looking forward to grabbing some tips there. And if I could visit any place in the world, I want to go to Mexico City or someplace down in South America and visit, or geography. Anyways, I want to see the pyramids. Or like Egypt. I'm obsessed with like pyramids, and I would love to be able to go and see them in real life. So that's that.
Super cool. Thanks, Mary. Michael, I have you next.
Yes. Hey, I'm Michael from Germany. And I would like to say good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. here. So I'm working as an Office 365 consultant, and Microsoft Dynamics version, I have no idea. I just learned what Dynamics is, and so I've never used it. No clue, never used it. I attended user group conferences this year. Yes, Scottish Summit was the last time, as Emma said, not the typical user group convention. A couple of others based here in Germany, actually. I've been to the Teams Community Day in Cologne, which was a user group meeting, a virtual one actually, around 15 cities or something. It was pretty interesting. What do I hope to gain from today's meeting? Well, the session, how about to work from home without murdering your kids, sounds really interesting actually, because I have this challenge right now. I have 2 kids here under 3 years, so the sign at the door, "Do not disturb," doesn't really apply to them, and it's a challenge. Oh, any place in the world I would like to visit. So many. I think I would really love to go to Scandinavia, like to Norway. Since I speak a little bit Norwegian, but I've never been there, then would be interesting. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Paige, I have you next to my screen.
Hi, my name is Paige Cassada. I'm a senior solution architect at C5 Insight. Jeff already talked to you about our CRM. We are hopefully going to be going to wave 1 ahead of the release, which I'll talk about a little later. Did attend UG, had a great time, got to present and got to help out at the booth and meet a lot of folks. Great fun, although I didn't get to spend as much time with Emma as I would have liked. We tried a couple of times, but we just kept doing this, so next time. I did get some sweet socks, though. Yes. What do you hope to gain from today's meeting? Feedback. Interested to hear what people are seeing, how they're feeling about things, and I'm interested in hearing what they think about Wave 1. If we have time to get any feedback about that. I'm interested in hearing any challenges folks might be having. And visit any place in the world, where would it be and why? I have always wanted to take my son to Disney. He's 15 now, so we tried to wait until he was a little bit older, and I'd like to take him soon before he doesn't really want to go anymore. So right now, that's where I'd really like to go, and who knows when that'll happen, but one day.
Perfect. Thanks to Paige. And we also have our other UG leader as well, Chuck here. So Chuck, if you want to say hey.
Sure. Good morning. Chuck Moore.
I can't hear you, Chuck. I think we lost your audio. I saw the word damn. No, I can't hear you at all. Oh, the joys of technology, eh? All right, and while Chuck is figuring that out, I also have Jeff Rath. Jeff, if you want to unmute yourself and say hey.
Hello, everybody. Jeff Rouse from Akuma Company. I'm not showing video because the connection's not that good for me right now. But I'm from Akuma Products Company here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are fully on Microsoft Dynamics CRM in the cloud. Plus, we have F&O in the cloud also. And we're trying to use the oldest version of CDS to connect the two back and forth to each other. Fully in production for over 1.5 years now. So we have lots of challenges and opportunities. I have not gone to the last UG conference in the last year, and today I'd like to know more, hear more about the unified interface. And as far as place in the world, I'd like to travel a little bit more in the US to see what's going on there.
Yeah, same. Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, Chuck, have you got your sound fixed? Nope, that's a no. No worries. Hey, Jill Vasquez, I have you next. Would you like to unmute yourself and say hey?
Oh, can everyone hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Was scared there after what happened with Chuck. Yeah, so I am Jill Vasquez with Bioventus. I am the CRM admin, trainer, support, basically the team of one for all things CRM. We are on 365 online, so we always have the latest and greatest, which I love. I was not able to attend the last summit, though I am scheduled to go to Focus in May if that happens. I did attend the last chapter meeting here in Raleigh and got rear-ended on the way home, so that was fun. From today's meeting, it's been a while since we've had a chapter meeting here in Raleigh, so it's just nice to see everyone and talk about CRM things. So thank you for arranging this virtual meeting. Great idea. If I could visit any place in the world, I don't know. I think I'd like to visit like places like Greenland or Iceland, you know, in that area. Visited Sweden once, and just kind of that whole area of the world is beautiful, and would love to explore more there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jill. I really appreciate it. So I think Chuck has gone to try and fix his, yeah, he's left. Okay, so in the interest of time, I think I'll just kick things off. Obligatory agenda. So we've gone through our introductions. We'll go through a little bit of news that we have, and then a couple of other bits. I mean, we've seen all this before. As always, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And of course, if you have any ideas, the usual standard URL for sending your ideas, very, very helpful. And of course, a huge part of this is that we have volunteers that, you know, set up these meetings and rally all the speakers, etc. So if you would like to volunteer your time, it's definitely a worthy cause. I know Mary is actually in the middle of getting a Power Platform user group set up in South Carolina, which is really exciting as well. I'm super, super stoked for that. And of course, if you're not a member, I say of course a lot, just realized that. If you're not a member of the D365UG community, it's definitely worth having a look at, especially for like all the technical content that's available there as well. But of course, it's not, it doesn't cost you anything to join all of these meetings. I just appreciate y'all being here. Dynamics community event calendar, not even sure if there's a point in even showing this right now, but there it is, set for May 18th with Focus in Denver. Might not happen. Same with Barcelona, has been moved now to June, so we'll see how that goes. Some training that you can take, etc. There is an academy as well. If you're a paid member, you can take the academy. Very exciting. Now, I really want to get into our first session. So because Michael's based in Germany, and in the interest of time zones, I wanted to give him our first slot. So Michael, I'm going to make you the presenter. And I'm really, really excited to see this. Okay, there you go. Take it away, good sir.
Okay, I've never used GoToMeeting before, so let's see if this works.
Sure.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Can you see anything?
You're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So you can see the presentation, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, very good. Okay, I think I have to minimize the webcam part here. It's kind of uncomfortable to see myself speaking. That's kind of new. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm not going to talk about classic CRM topics actually. So I'm talking about Teams and Teams adoption and work hacks. Okay, so let's hit this off. Okay, a short introduction once again. Said it before. My name is Mike Roth. I'm from Germany. I'm working as an Office 365 consultant. I'm into user adoption, change management, and training. So as you can see, I'm not really the IT guy. Nevertheless, I've been working in IT for quite a few years now, I think 9 years. 2011, I started working in IT, though I have no IT background whatsoever. In fact, I'm a trained pedagogue and historian, and sometimes I think that's a huge benefit, to be honest. But anyway, that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So, and as you can see, user adoption, change management, no IT background. My work focuses on people and on communication. And that's what this session today is all about, actually. It's not about how to use Teams and an in-depth look into the technical stuff of Teams, but how Microsoft Teams can help you with collaboration, with communication, with getting in contact with your team, something like that. At the end, a little bit more personal information, what I'm passionate about. I really, really love learning new things, and like quite often I'm living far outside my comfort zone though, but that's really what I really like to grow personally. Beside that, I'm working as an artist, and I like to connecting to people as a blogger and a speaker, and I'm really passionate about cooking. So if we ever meet in person and we can have we do have the chance to cook something together, that would get me. All right, first introduction. Let's dive into it. Usually I start with what are work hacks. Work hacks are like life hacks. And I guess most of you are familiar with the term life hacks, have heard it before, I guess so. I have met a few people who said life hacks, never heard about that. No, what's that? So for anybody of you who hasn't got any clue what a life hack is, these are these little tricks that make your day-to-day life a little bit easier. Like, for example, one I'm using personally, I use hair clips to organize long wires. Okay, that's life hacks, but what are work hacks? Work hacks are like life hacks, like little tricks to make your day-to-day life a little bit easier, but your work life. And at that point at my sessions, I usually ask, who wants his work life to be a little bit easier? Please raise your hands. A little bit difficult since I just see a couple of you guys, but usually, yeah, I see hands. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Work hacks. If you want to make your work life a little bit easier, usually you need to change some things. Your behavior, your environment, your tools, or your collaboration style. And change, we all know that is usually quite uncomfortable. And usually it's hard work, especially if you think about change at the workplace. You may think of change projects and change managers who come with an agenda, with a change roadmap, those really long and difficult projects, and most people don't really like that, and I totally get that because I do that quite a lot. The good thing about work hacks is they are not really difficult. They don't take that long. In fact, you take something like mini changes, like really small steps to improve your work life. And you start not within the whole company, but within your own team, just a couple of people. You conduct something like a dry run and see if it works. If it works, good. If not, you can leave it aside and change to the next work hack. If it works, then it might grow, become bigger, and it can spread through the whole company if it works. So basically, you're starting bottom-up style and not top-down. So you could say work hacks provide an easy introduction to cultural change and break up established routines. And the teams who are introducing work hacks decide, like as I said, from the bottom up, what they want to change, and then they can implement it in their own team directly without any like big complications or without any program plans or anything. So it's quite easy and from the bottom. And there's another really important thing about work hacks that I like to mention just at the beginning. It's the impulse over rules thing. What I really would like you to do is understand the meaning behind every work hack, understand the why, what you want to achieve with it, and then try to adapt the rules to your own working styles, to your own team. Because in the end, a good impulse is far more important than just blunt following the blunt implementation of a hack. If you get the idea behind this, you can see how you really can implement it and if you want to implement it. And that's really, really important. There are no rules, make your own ones. All right, let's dive into the first work hack, focus time. Okay, I guess you are familiar with this situation. You have something to do, an important task. really important topic, and you know you can pull this off if you just sit there and work straight without any distractions. And then your phone rings. And a quick question from a customer. Okay, good. Back to work. Where was I? Ah, yeah, there. Back into work. Then you get this email. Okay, it's a coworker. It can wait. You have to focus. You have to pull this off. 2 minutes later, usually that exact coworker knocks on your door. Did you get my mail? And these really interruptions are kind of a pain in the ass. Am I allowed to say that? Not sure. Yeah. In the meantime, you get notifications via Teams, and you just can't concentrate. The thing is, with those small interruptions, you need a little bit time to get back into the topic after you've been interrupted. And there have been a couple of scientific studies that say that on average, you need 15 to 18 minutes to get back into a topic. And that's quite a long time. If you're working just for 2 hours and there are like 3 distractions you get, you're like wasting almost half of the time just getting your mind back on the topic. And while it's quite easy to avoid external distractions, like plug off your phone, close Outlook, and that's it, it's sometimes difficult with those internal distractions via Teams, co-workers swinging by, the daily stuff going on in the office or in the home office. That can be pretty tricky, actually. And focus time is actually just a certain period of time in which you can work without any disturbances. And the point is, you get together with your team and agree on that special point of time, the period of time. So when everybody agrees that your whole team will take, let's say something like from 11 to 12 a.m., this is our focus time, everybody works without disturbances and all the team members won't disturb each other. And this common agreement, it's super simple actually, but we talked about this in our own team. And suddenly we all got at least 1 hour a day when nobody is walking around with a coffee or sending emails, calling you. This common agreement is pure gold for your productivity. And that was really interesting to see actually. So, but of course in our company, we are more than just our team and we are working in Microsoft Teams. So there are different areas and departments who don't know about our focus time. So we had to come up with something. And we didn't want to close Teams at all because we are working in that application. So we introduced everybody that you can, this present state indicator in the upper right corner, this little green or red button that says I'm available, I'm in a meeting right now or something like that. And I've experienced that many users don't really know that you can switch it manually, and you can switch it manually to do not disturb. That's again super simple, but it's highly effective. And that's something we introduced in our company, and it was really interesting to the effect it had if a whole team and a whole department at one point of time, they all got to do not disturb for a complete hour. And that was really, really interesting to see what it made with all the other co-workers of ours. Of course, they asked, what are you doing? Your whole team is going to do not disturb. Do you have like a meeting every day for an hour or something? And we just said, no, actually, we're just using focus time so we can work without distractions. And that was something where this work hack grew. It became bigger and bigger, and it spread through the whole company. And now nearly everybody is using that to just get some time to work. And that was really, really interesting and really cool effect, actually. So what we got from that, we got our amount of time where we can work without any distractions. And actually, we told everybody that you can change the present state. And the people are using that. So they learned something about Teams and how to use it. And we got our focus time. Of course, in the home office, maybe that's a different story. And I just can recommend a busy light. That's basically a lamp that's outside your office door that is connected to the present state indicator of Teams, showing your family if you're red or green or if you're in a call or something. That really works as well, but it's something like a different story. The main point is with WorkHack and with Focus Time is actually to get in contact with your team, talk about what you need, when will be a good time for a focus time, and if you get this common understanding of this, you automatically grow closer together with your team and you grow stronger together. And that's another point with all the work hacks that are really, really important. Okay, that was already the first work hack. Let's see, second one, the feedback card. I guess most of you got feedback from your boss or your manager. I guess so. Yes, actually another point in my session where hands up who ever got feedback from his boss or her boss. Yep, thanks you. And let me ask this, how did it feel when you get feedback from your boss? Did it feel authentic? And did you benefit from that and learn something from that? And did it feel personal and close? I will just don't need any answers here, just think about it. And how many of you ever got serious feedback from a coworker or close friend? And think about how did that feel? Maybe more personal, more authentic, and maybe less strategic and more like a real advice. I think, and I made the experience that you can benefit a lot from honest, and that's key here, feedback. So we came up with an idea to get it, actually. And the feedback card is originally a postcard you can send to a colleague and ask him or her for feedback. Some of you might remember postcards from the older times, made of paper, stamps, right? So you would send this postcard, schedule a meeting to discuss feedback on a topic of your choice. And so our company doesn't really have a post office, and I think not many companies do have those times. So we came up with a digital idea. And with the idea of a feedback card, I finally found a proper use case for the praise button in Teams. Are you familiar with that? It's a small button where you can send out nice little notifications like he's a good soul, a good team player, or something like that. I think they're kind of fun, but not really useful. But in our team, we agreed that when we send this team player praise button, we can ask for feedback for any kind of topic we like. And the good thing is you can send it directly out of chat. And if you look at the chat bar in Teams, 2 buttons left of the praise button, there's a schedule a meeting button. And I haven't recognized it in a long time. But that's really handy to just schedule a meeting right from the chat. So you don't have to open Outlook and set up another meeting or open the Teams calendar. It's just 2 clicks. That's really, really easy. So we are using this to invite a coworker or a friend to get feedback, get a coffee, like 15 to 30 minutes, something like that. And once again, we agreed within our team on a frequency. Once a week is maybe a little bit too much. Every 5 years, maybe too less. I know a lot of teams using it like every 3 months, every 2 months, or after a project. You have to find your own schedule, what works for you. And of course, once again, make your own rules, something like that works for your team. Just to remember, proper impulse is more important than just following the rules. And I've experienced that most people really like getting honest feedback for their work, and most people are really happy to give feedback. And from that, your team can really grow together. You can show them the little buttons in the chat bar and actually make good use of them, especially the praise button. One thing here, you can't really force anybody to give feedback. Maybe there is this one rule to follow, but the feedback card is interesting to get together with your team, ask for feedback, and yeah, I think you can benefit a lot from that when you're working style, and once again your team grows closer together, because in a feedback session you talk about quite personal things sometimes, and that can really be very helpful. So, and teams can help you with that. Next one is the collaboration contract. Anybody familiar with that already? Nope. All right, okay. A collaboration contract is basically a common understanding of how a team will work together. Now, think about it. How many times have you worked in a project with people you've never worked with before? And everybody just assumed that all on the same page on how to collaborate. For me, that happens quite a lot, actually. And if you're considering a digital workplace in a digitalized world, there are several ways to collaborate. There are, even in the Microsoft Office 365 stack, so many tools to collaborate. There's Teams, there's Planner, there's To Do. Every Office application has the comment functions. And there are likewise so many preferences from different coworkers, what they prefer to do. So what we do every time we start a new project, we sit together with our project group and outline an idea of how we want to collaborate within our team. So that means, are we using the chat functions, or are we sending emails? Are we sending emails and attach file to it, or are we sending links? If we chat, do we need a formal language, or is it okay to use the chat like in personal life or in private life or something like that? Where do we store our files? Do we have like one file store, or do we store them on our computer, like on premise, and send the links? That are all a couple of things that you can really benefit from if you just talk to each other and see how everybody likes to work. And once again, if you create a common understanding of your working style, your working relationship will become a lot smoother, actually. It's, once again, super simple stuff, and it basically is talk to each other. It really helps. And what we did here, we used OneNote and outlined this contract in OneNote, and we put it in our Teams as a new tab. So most of my colleagues learned that you can put up new tabs in Teams and in your channels, and that was helpful for them. And with the collaboration contract in our channel, in our general channel, everybody could look into that once again if he or she wasn't sure on what things we agreed on. And everybody had basically the same idea how we work together for that time being, for that project. So I mentioned it earlier that with every project we set up another and new collaboration contract, and that's because sometimes we are working just within our department, sometimes there are different departments coming in, sometimes there are even external vendors who are working with us, and that you really have to think about how to work with these guys, with these people, how to work with externals, for example. And that was already the third work hack. And now the next one, work hack number 4, is like my nemesis, because I'm no native speaker, and I think that for me that's really difficult to pronounce, actually. So strengthen strengths. I hope that was correct. That's a really interesting one from my opinion. So everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weaknesses. And of course, everybody has their preferences on things you can do pretty good and you're good at, and there are things you aren't really good at and you don't enjoy doing. And usually you have a rough idea of who is good at what in your team. But sometimes there are hidden talents you had no idea of. So what we did, we get our team together and we try to focus on our strengths and even work on our strengths and becoming better at what we already are good at. And there's this interesting point I got from my manager, actually. He is always recommending that we are working on our weaknesses. And there are interesting scientific research and discussions right now if it's really helpful to work on your weaknesses to become like a master of all kinds, or if it's better to really focus on your strengths. I would like to cut the discussion on that part here and come to the work hack. So what we did is we create a profile card for each of our team members and let them fill in 5 things they're really good at and they like doing. Then we shared this in a meeting where everybody was presenting their profile. And the important part is that everybody now has an idea about the talents within your team and who is good at doing what and who enjoys doing different things. So, and even before that work hack, we had a weekly team meeting where we were talking about the current workload and who is doing what right now. And now we started during that team meeting to pass specific tasks around. And I would like to give you an example, like from my personal experience. I told you before that I'm working as an artist and I think I'm pretty good, or let's say okay-ish, at drawing and designing. But when I tell the people that I'm really straightforward suck at creating PowerPoint slides, nobody believes me. I really hate this. It takes me ages and they aren't any good. And another colleague of mine has really problem with creating, problem with creating slides, but he isn't really good at writing text. But that's kind of easy for me. So we agreed on exchanging these tasks. I'm helping him with writing text and he's doing my slide decks. So we can both do what we enjoy. We are getting better at that because we are getting more experience. And our collaboration really benefits from that. It's really, really good. Of course, this doesn't work with all tasks you get. You can't really push everything aside. And there are certain tasks nobody wants to do. But it's an interesting thing. And Then we took it a little bit further actually, and we integrated Microsoft Planner in our teams, and we created a strengths-oriented working board. So the columns were like separated in the different tasks and strengths, and then we assigned people to those columns. And that was really interesting for a collaboration, because now we are not every time we're working like project-wise or customer-wise, but task-wise. That's interesting. Once again, it doesn't work with any tasks, but that was really interesting and is really fun, especially for internal projects. And once again, you get to know your team really, really good. You grow closer together, you connect in another way. And many of my coworkers didn't have any idea what Planner is about and how to use it. And that was another benefit we took from that, how to integrate Planner in Teams. All right. I'm already coming to my last work hack for today, Slack time. And Slack time you could translate into like business-oriented leisure time, I would say. And that's something I think every company can benefit from, but hardly one is willing to implement something like that. With Slack time, you have a specific amount of time per month or per week to develop your own ideas and focus on your own projects. But those projects should focus on your business, actually. There is an interesting example from a company, 3M. I think it's a Minnesota mining and manufacturing company or something like that. They're doing like, they have developed a glued film, I guess is the correct term, that is easy to read even at night. And meanwhile, this film is standard in Germany for license plates. And this idea was developed through Slack time. That's quite interesting. Another good examples are the Power Platform. If you want to develop anything for your team that might be helpful with Power Automate or Power Platform, that would be a perfect Slack time project. I've come up with a good time tracking device in SharePoint Online, actually, we are using right now, and we developed that in Slack time as well. So you could say any kind of project that helps your team or your company, but it's not in focus of your primary work, would be perfect for Slack time. And what we did, we used Teams, OneNote, and Planner with that. We create our own channel within Teams to present and discuss ideas and to share the ideas. Then we include a shared notebook, OneNote, and Planner. So we are really treating this as a whole legit project. And we connect this with our strengths-oriented working board from Planner, from the work earlier. So everybody can have a look into this OneNote and can discuss our ideas, and the people are joining projects and helping out where they can. And so we are developing our own area and our own department in really interesting ways, actually. Many people are getting into agile working style like Scrum, for example. We're using that because we don't have that much time. But it's really interesting. We are sharing our ideas in an early stage to avoid putting up too much effort into something that won't work anyway. So quite often we are including our managers as well, because they usually have a good idea which might work in our company and which ideas might not. And with that, we have like our own little projects within our team where we as a team benefit from, and we can really put all our professional working style in it. And that's really fun for the whole team. That's really a nice thing, actually. And that's it for today. So that were my 5 best work hacks you can implement with Microsoft Teams to boost your collaboration skills and your knowledge about Teams a little bit. And a quick sum up. Once again, I can't stress this enough. A good impulse is far more important than just following the rules. And just do. Start small, see if it works. If not, leave it aside. If yes, great. Develop it any further. And just get in contact with your team and discuss those ideas and discuss why you want to implement it and what you want to achieve with it. Create a common understanding. Maybe you just share an idea why you want to implement that, and the team member or coworker has a great idea, an even better idea than I presented, how to implement that. And that's the good thing. It's not about how you do it, but why. Yeah, don't force anybody to participate. That doesn't really work. I've tried it. Actually, I'm doing that professionally as a change manager. But if your idea is good and if you have a good idea that you want to implement, usually the people want to participate on their own. And share even small success stories. Tell other colleagues during lunchtime on a coffee break what you're doing, spread the ideas. I gave you an example with the focus time. Nearly the whole company is using it right now. When it spreads, it grows, and that's really a nice thing, I guess. Usually that's a point where I share a QR code to get my slides, but those slides don't provide too much information. So here's a QR code. You can head over straight to my blog where I have a little bit more information in it, a few links, and thank you for your attention. That's it.
That was awesome. I learned so much. So normally in our usual UGs, we'd kind of break for 5 minutes so people can get coffee. So what I'm going to do is if you have a question for Michael, if you can let me know in the chat, I can call you out and you can unmute yourself. And also if you don't have a question for Michael, now is a good time to go to the bathroom or grab yourself a coffee or whatever. I have some questions, but I talk to you every day, so I can ask you whenever. Jeff Rath has a couple of questions. So Jeff, you want to unmute yourself and ask Michael some questions?
Sure. Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's a great presentation. A couple quick questions. When you talk about the OneNote for your teams and Planner for your teams, are you hooking up both OneNote and Planner specific to the teams, and is that data being stored where in the cloud someplace and only available for those team members to see?
Yes, they're all stored in the cloud, and if you hook up the Planner or the OneNote within a channel or within a team, within the team's team, only the people who are allowed in the team have access to that OneNote and to that Planner.
Perfect. And you also mentioned too that on the team side, you can add members from outside your organization. Do they have to be part of business-to-business communication, or can they just be anybody?
Anybody, yeah. It depends. You can invite external people as guests, and then it depends how your teams is set up, what kind of rights they have. There are two places where you can configure it. It's the Teams Admin Center or your Tenant Admin Center. It really depends how your company is working with the externals. But you can put up the settings so that they do have access rights to that, but you can also provide that they don't have access rights. It really depends how Teams is set up, actually.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I have some questions for you as well. I can see that a couple of people have popped off to get some coffee. I really love the idea of those profile cards. Can you do you happen to have like an example of what those profile cards look like, or how did you set them up?
Unfortunately, I don't have an example right now, right here. I set that up in a different tenant actually, but as we started with it, the profile card was just like 5 rows in Word, and that's it.
Okay.
It's nice to make it we thought about implementing adaptive cards in Teams and working with that, so that it really looks nice, but it was too much work. So we made it plain and simple in Word or OneNote or whatever, just to make it work.
Mm-hmm. And so how does that connect it to each individual person? Is it like I click on someone in Teams and there's a link to their card, or?
We had these cards for our team. We had these in OneNote, and we just put up OneNote in a different tab.
Okay.
So everybody had access to this OneNote, and there were like 5 names and 5 profiles, and that's it. So it was plain and simple, actually.
Super cool. And then my other question is, by the way, that was an amazing session. I learned a lot. What was my other question? Do you guys spin up new teams for every project that you do and then have a collaboration contract for each team channel? Or how do you do that?
First of all, we create a new team for every project. we are doing actually, yeah, because most of our projects are involved around customers, and we are involving our customers to our team. So yes, one team per project, and we don't have one collaboration contract for each channel, but for each team actually.
Okay.
Because with some projects we are working with externals with our customers together, in other projects we don't. So the setup is different and the setup of people is different for every team. So we have a collaboration contract for every team. That's
Gotcha.
correct.
Okay,
And
cool.
if you've done this 1 or 2 times, this collaboration contract is put together in like 15 minutes or something. So
Oh,
that's not too
perfect.
much work.
Cool. And I
But we're also selling workshops for different for like 8 hours. You can put a lot of money into that, but you can all do that by yourself.
And I'm going to turn it over to Paige in just a second. But my last question is going to be: since you've had to work from home, what has been your greatest struggle, and what have you enjoyed the most about it?
Enjoyed the most. Okay, let's start with the greatest struggle. That's easy. Our flat has just one door, the bedroom door, and my desk was standing in the living room. So I think the greatest struggle was to rearrange the furniture to get a kind of quiet working zone in the bedroom. And now the first thing I look to when I wake up is my desk. So it's kind of a struggle. Actually, it's where do I work and how do I work with 2 kids when the daycare is closed? That is a challenge, actually. What I enjoy most, short way to the coffee machine or something. Being able to work without trousers, pants on.
That's true. All very true. Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. That was a really, really helpful session. And if you're on Twitter, I can see you have your Twitter link up there. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you on Twitter. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. This is the joys of having to do it virtually, that we can have amazing people from around the world come join us. So virtual applause. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, next up I have Paige. I've got you listed next. You good to go?
I just want to
I
check.
believe so.
I'm working now. You guys
Yeah.
hear me now?
Yeah, you're
All right.
good.
Sometimes
Yes, sir.
just a reboot of the computer is the easiest way to solve it, right?
Yeah. Turn it off, turn it on again, man. Works every time. Good to see you, Chuck. How are you doing? Do you want to answer a couple of those questions that we had?
I don't need to take up a whole lot of time, but hey, I appreciate Emma, for putting this together for sure. In times like this when we can't meet in person, for her to put this together and get the speakers that we have, it's pretty awesome. So, just my part is, is what I'm looking forward to today is just kind of picking up, like with every UG chapter meeting we have, pick up a couple tips or things that I can take back to either my team or to, for myself to get better, and definitely picked up some good things with the first session so far. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been really great. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Chuck. And you've been super helpful with getting a lot of this set up as well. You've been a great support for me in my new venture with setting a lot of this things up. So I appreciate you very, very much. Okie doke. Paige, I'm going to turn it over to you. I am stoked for this. I haven't seen anything on Wave 1 yet, so
Okay.
it should be good to go.
So let's see. So you should be seeing a PowerPoint.
Yes,
Okay,
we're good
excellent.
to go.
And I was taping something similar to this a little while ago, and I accidentally stayed on my PowerPoint the entire time. So I will let you know when I'm switching to CRM. So let me know if something happens and it doesn't translate well. And also, unfortunately, my camera is here and my big screen's up here, so I will try to look down occasionally to see what kind of feedback I'm getting visually. Otherwise, I'm sure Emma will give me a holler if need be. Okay, awesome. Okay, so even though the majority of the content today is going to be focused on the 2020 Wave 1 for Dynamics 365 customer engagement, which I will probably call CRM this whole time. I am going to talk a little bit about the unified interface, especially for folks that aren't on it yet. because there have been some date changes that I think are important for folks to know about. Okay. Dates and deprecations. So as of March 23rd, we got, there was a blog that came out from Microsoft regarding the movement of, let me turn off my webcam because I'm having, there we go. Okay, I got my webcams off, so Emma, can you still see me, see my PowerPoint?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. So the originally the legacy web app, which is what a lot of people call the classic interface, was going to be going away in October with the Wave 2 release. However, due to the changes in environments across the world, Microsoft has actually pushed that back to December 1st. So folks that aren't on the unified interface yet have more time to get there. Also, with that, they're pushing back the Wave 1 release from the end of April to the end of May. So if anybody is on here and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done any testing on Wave 1 yet, rest assured you have a little more time to do that. However, I would recommend you do them soon so that you can prepare your teams for those changes. One of those things in that blog that was also mentioned was they're making it easier for the D365 finance, supply chain management, and commerce customers to pause updates for extended periods. I can't talk about that in any detail because that's not an area that we focus. But for those of you that are using those particular products, thought it'd be good just to throw that out there for you. And here is the blog that I referenced. And I believe if you just, you know, look for that date and you look at cloudblogs.microsoft.com and search for this, you'll be able to find the details around this blog. I highly recommend if you aren't following cloudblogs.microsoft.com that you take a look. There's typically some really good information that gets posted there. Okay, so this is a little bit of a busy email here. This is a copy of an email that we got ourselves and that a couple of our clients got. This is the email that Microsoft has been sending out to get people moving on getting to the unified interface. At first glance, I know I had a particularly panicked one of our customers email me and say, oh my gosh, they're going to move us automatically right now to unified interface and we're not ready. If you get one of these emails, this is just telling you that you have the option to move to the unified interface automatically sooner than the end of the year. So just if you get any kind of communication from Microsoft, be very diligent on reading all the fine print. Most of you probably are used to reading Microsoft communications and doing that, but I just wanted to give folks a heads up if they got one of these emails. The key is optional early transition service, and they won't move you automatically, at least early, until you approved this date that they had set for you. Okay. Something that we got as an organization just this week was a reminder that the Outlook client, the COM add-in, is going to be deprecated at the end of the year. Now that email seemed a little automated, and the date on that was December 1st. I do not know if because they moved the classic interface deprecation to December 1st, they'll also move the deprecation of the Outlook client to December 1st. But as of right now, it's October 1st. The reason that we got this email is because we have 2 users that are still using the Outlook client versus the app because of the ability to auto refresh Excel spreadsheets if you have them connected to CRM data. We're in the process of looking into the variety of different ways to manage that. And there are several solutions, but as with the cobbler and their kids not having shoes, sometimes we're behind the curve on those kind of things as well. But just a heads up, that is going to be coming. So if you are using the Outlook client, typically that's going to load on the bottom of your email messages. Then you need to take steps to be moving off that and move on to the Outlook app. The Outlook app is much more stable. Been really pleased with how it's been working for us and our customers. Okay. Any questions on those items before I move on?
I'll keep an eye on the chat box for you and I can let you know if there's questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure thing.
Okay, enabling the wave. So for anybody who hasn't done the testing yet, you can turn on early access. Now, typically, I say typically, we've been doing this wave 1 twice a year thing. I think only this is the second year. So typical is a little bit of a fluid term where this is concerned. But typically what happens is in the month of February and the month of August, you will be able to turn on the wave 1 at the beginning of the year, wave 2 at the end of the year. You'll be able to turn those on in your environments for testing. Some things to note: once you turn those on, you can't move updates from your test environment to your production environment. If, for example, you turned on wave 1 in your test environment, then there are probably updates that you won't be able to move from your test environment to your production environment until your production environment is on wave 1 as well. So just keep that in mind. Maybe do your testing if you have a third org that you can test on, or in a trial org to do that kind of testing. Most of the time, the things that they're going to have in these waves, a lot of it is more user side, the way things look, the way things function visually. However, there have been some functionality changes as well, things that you turn on and off that might change your processes. Let's see. If you are currently using the classic interface, then when Microsoft does push this wave 1 live, was going to be the end of April, now the end of May, you really won't see any changes because these changes have to do with the model-driven app, which is the unified interface. Let's see. Highly recommend you do test them prior to them going live. Highly recommend you test them before you push them to production. If you do your testing in your test environment and you're like, sweet, we need this now, let's go ahead and do it, you do have the ability to go ahead and turn that on in your production environment as well. And I'm going to show you how that happens in just a moment. What if I don't want it? Tough. Sorry, you're going to get it regardless. Like I said, twice a year, Microsoft is pushing these waves. How can you trust that they've got the bugs worked out? If you have been using Microsoft products for a while, you know they can't get all the bugs out, but they do a pretty good job of it typically. What they are doing is with these deployments, they are doing something called safe deployment practices. I found some information about that on an Azure blog. What that entails, essentially it entails doing extensive testing, rolling it out to smaller regions or groups first before they then roll it out to places like the United States or to Canada. So, so that if they have bugs early, it's a smaller group and they can get those worked out before they roll them out into the larger organizations. Where do you do this thing? You do this in the admin powerplatform.microsoft.com/environments area, and I'll show you some pics of how you go through that in just a moment. Okay. Also, there's a new setting that I noticed just recently that has to do with managing environments. It's under the settings gear that's in this area, and it's who can create production environments. The default is everyone. I believe everyone applies to CRM system admins. I have not had a good chance to test this yet, but you can change it to only specific admins, and this tells you who those specific admins are. So you might want to take a look at that in your environment. Okay, once you get into the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com/environments area, you will see your environments. Because I'm using a demo environment, I do not have a test environment in here. However, again, ordinarily you would do this first on your test environment or a demo environment. So what you do is you click the name of the environment. Once you click that, it's going to open up the kind of a little sub area for the environment. The updates are going to be over here on your right hand side. You'll notice this says that the wave 1 is off. There's a nice link here that links you to information on what you get whenever you enable this. So when you click that manage button, it's going to open up this side panel. It's going to let you know what's included again, and it's going to give you a warning. This may take a while. I've had environments take 15 minutes. I've had environments take a couple of hours, so keep that in mind. When you hit the update now button, as another, are you really sure you want to do this? They ask you to type in the environment name and then hit the confirm button. Once you get the environment name in there, the confirm button will be available. And then while it's running, it's going to look like this on the side. And as these get finished, they will go green. And then in the end, it will look like this. Now, when I first did this in our environment, I did have one of these areas, I believe it was the knowledge management area, that did not successfully update. All I had to do is 24 hours later go in, and there was a button, a retry button that let me retry it. And then after that, it worked fine. Okay, so that's how you enable it. Super exciting stuff. Okay, so while I was going through this, there were a few user experience changes that I didn't really see mentioned in the documentation, and I wanted to point that out for you. One of the things I noticed wasn't mentioned is they actually have done a good job of doing a little bit better display of subheadings. So anybody who's using the unified interface now and is working in activities has probably noticed that all of your activity types are glommed in together here, and you have to scroll down to get to the different ones. Now they have done a nice job of differentiating the different subgroups in there. Previously, if you look at your environment now and you don't have Wave 1 enabled, you'll notice that these are just almost blend into your different views that are available. I also noticed that long names on views seem to actually work better. Previously, they kind of got cut off, but now they seem to actually expand nicely, so you don't have to kind of guess what the name is if you have long names. And then there is now an expand chart button on your charts. It's always been there. It's just been something you had to mouse over, but I did notice that they now actually have it available at all times rather than hiding when you're not navigating over that chart. Okay. So now we're going to get into the what's new for sales, customer service, and everybody. So what I've tried to do here, and this will look pretty familiar if anybody's looked at these notes for Wave 1, because basically what I did is I went through the items they said were available, and I said, okay, for example, the activity update wasn't really brought out very well in the customer service literature for Wave 1. And so when I was going through this, I was like, okay, this, even though they're not talking about it in the customer service, it's really available for both, not just for the sales. So I tried to go through and note that as I was doing my research into these. As I mentioned, this is an overview. We're going to be going into each one of these on individual slides. And I'm going to do, it's not always my favorite way to do this, but I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the PowerPoint and an environment so you can actually see it in action. Okay, let's get to the first thing. So both for customer service and for sales, there's been some updates to email, including easier email template selection. And I'll also show you how to turn that on. Now, the rich text editor has actually been out since the end of 2019. But this new functionality, it actually lets you pop out the email to the side, but you can only use this new functionality in the timeline. If you use the quick create button, for example, it doesn't work. And you can have open multiple emails. As I also mentioned, easier email template selection. It lets you search as you type, and there's a preview. So if you have an organization that uses a lot of email templates, this makes it a heck of a lot easier to utilize those. Okay, so enough looking at PowerPoints. Okay, so activities. So let me go to, so for anybody who hasn't looked at the unified interface, this is the unified interface. As you can see, the navigation is on the left-hand side rather than on the top. This, after a few iterations, now a pretty nice pop-out or collapse, so that if you're someone that really likes to always have it on the left-hand side, you can leave it out. If you're someone that's really good about remembering where things are, you can leave it collapsed. But this is essentially what you would ordinarily see across the top in your tiles and your sub areas. Okay, so let's go in here. Now, also, this is a demo environment, so there's a lot of noise in here. Typically, with organizations, we recommend minimizing the noise so that people can stay focused. If this were a production environment, there would be a lot of these things that would probably be hidden or not even available in the app itself. Okay, and let's see which one I've been using, a datum. So I have pinned this record because this is a record that's got a lot of the stuff on it that I wanted to show you. The way you do that, you can look at your recent list and then just click on the pin and it'll be moved to your pinned area. In the classic interface, that is over in this area. Okay, so now we are in one of our records. I am going to click on the plus, open an email. And as you can see, this new functionality now opens those emails over in the corner for you. One of the cool things about that is I can actually leave that up and go to different records if I want to. And from here, I can actually open additional emails. Now, could get kind of crazy. If you're someone that's kind of bad for leaving things open, there might be a lot of noise, but I know for folks that are specifically in customer service arrangements, this is probably going to work very well for them. Let's see, and let me bring this back. And I believe, I remember, yeah, so once I put a subject in the email, it updated this little header here so I can know which one I'm looking at. Okay, good deal. As I mentioned, you have the WYSIWYG up here for you to do a variety of different things with your font. If you are used to seeing things like your CC and your regarding, this is now on this tab here. In the unified interface, tabs are tabs again, which I'm a fan of. And then once you finish your email, you would just send it as normal. Now, one of the other things I mentioned was that you have a little bit more ease of use in using templates. So let me click the insert template. And so what it does is it actually shows you your templates here. Whatever template you click on, it's actually going to load what that template is going to look like, as well as if you have any kind of merge codes, it will also show you those as well. And the search is pretty nice. So let's do, it actually will search as you type, as opposed to you having to do some kind of return. So that's pretty nice as well. And let's see, yeah. And then when you remove that, whatever you're searching for, it goes back to the full list. You also have the option to click this little arrow here, and it gives you the information that I believe you put in the description field. So this would be information just for the user. This wouldn't be information that whoever you're sending it to would see. And then as with your typical email template, I'm going to hit apply. Because I put a subject line in there, it's asking me, do you want to replace it? And I'm going to say yes. And so then that's in there and available for me to send. This had to do, this will fill in once it gets sent. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to close these so we get them out of the way. And they won't be bugging us here. Okay, and as I mentioned, this functionality is only available in your timeline. If you use the functionality up here, whoops, there it is. If you use your functionality up here, it's going to open it the way that emails are opened previously. Oh, another thing of note, you can now insert tables into emails, which I think I'm surprisingly entertained by and think that's really cool. You can also manage those columns and rows with those emails. Okay, how do you turn this thing on? So in Sales, so I am in the Sales Hub app. So folks that have the customer experience licensing would get this automatically. And you can create your own apps, of course, but if you want to use the Sales Hub app, then you're going to have these items available to you. I'm going to go to App Settings. Yes, I want to discard. And you have this general settings overview here. And as you can see on the left-hand side, they're broken out. All this really does is change the focus to that particular area. So let's see. The productivity tools is where you turned on the enhanced email. So you just hit the manage button and then you just turn that baby on and save it. You're good to go. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, the product catalog. There have been some enhancements to the product catalog. One of them I have some pretty strong views about. So one of them is you can make your price lists optional now. Now, the advantage of that is it allows folks to enter products and put in just maybe you just want to show your products to somebody, not necessarily pricing, or maybe you have very flexible pricing on your products. So that allows you to actually enter products without entering that pricing. It also doesn't require you to enter a price list on, for example, your opportunity. However, it's been my experience that most organizations are tend to be pretty specific about their pricing, and that you typically will have your price list on your account when you create that opportunity using the out-of-the-box functionality with mapping or having a workflow. You can have that price list come down and update your opportunity. So making price lists optional, if you are considering using that, I highly recommend you do a lot of testing because I can see a lot of craziness going on with that, because then users wouldn't have any parameters around their pricing. But the second item that's available is the adding products with the enhanced product experience. This is pretty cool, pretty excited about showing folks this. because it actually allows you to add more than one product fairly easily. So I know we've all been wanting this in CRM for quite a long time. So this is actually pretty nice. You'll see that when you have this functionality turned on, you'll have two buttons. You'll have a product button and a products button. And you have a pretty nice filtering search when you're adding those products. Okay. Let's pop back in. And I think I have this turned off so you can see what it looks like. And you know what? Let me create a new opportunity real quick. Refresh. Okay, sweet. Okay, so a little bit of a lag, but we're good to go. So I'm going to click over to the product line items on my opportunity. Okay, this actually opened an existing one. I really wanted to show you one from the get-go. Okay. Okay, sweet, sweet, sweet. Also, this has been available for a little while. Another one of my favorite new things. There's a save and save and create new button when you're doing your quick creates, which is really nice. Big fan. Okay, so now we're gonna go into this baby. Okay, so I'm gonna go over to line items. As you can see, no price list. I'm gonna hit add product. Because I have not turned on this functionality, it's telling me, hey, you gotta do a price list in order to add the products. I want you to see what that looks like. Right now, it's saving us from ourselves. So to turn that on, I'm going to go back into app settings. And then I am going to go to product catalog settings. And I'm going to turn on here the make price list optional and add products with the enhanced product experience. Sweet. And let's go back to a record we were on. I'm going to do a browser refresh, just be on the safe side. Okay, and then we're going to go back to this product line items. And as you can see, now we have two buttons. We have add product and add products. So if we were to add product, then it's going to open, I've turned on the quick create so that it would open up the quick create rather than the whole form itself. So let me just add one right quick. And I'm going to save and close. Now this is the new experience. So weird that I'm excited about this, but anybody, like I said, anybody who's tried to use this functionality in the past is going to find this pretty exciting. So some really cool things that you have available. First, you have the search, as I mentioned. Now this search you type and you have to hit enter, but you do not have to do a wildcard. It will search within the products. So as you can see, it's also showing me where it found that information. These little icons pull up some more detailed information about the product. Now, I don't have a lot going on here. I think that the later iterations of this information card will probably be a little more visually pleasing. Right now, there's a little bit of some interesting cutoffs that's happening here. But if I had, for example, the description or other information in here, then that would be displayed for me as well. So you have that for you. If you want to add this particular product to your product lines, then all you have to do is click plus, and if you want to, you can put in your quantity here. Let me just add a couple of these. I'm going to go back up here. When I went back to my whole list, you can see the ones I have already selected are checked. From here, I'm going to add another one. You also have this recently used area. So I have obviously clicked on these sometime in the recent past, likely in my testing. So it's not just this session that it shows you recently used. And then you also have the option for write-in. At the end of this, in the selected, it has those items all together in your list, and then you can make modifications to these if needed. So let's do that, and then I'm going to leave these other two alone. And then I'm going to click Add to Opportunity. So, like I said, pretty excited about that functionality. A whole lot easier than what we've had to do in the past. Then if you were to add a price list, I'm going to refresh. Then you could also use this functionality with your price list as well. Now, I have not done any testing around what if I use part for without the price list and part of it with the price list. Will that make any changes to the way my products are in the end? I've done no testing around this. So if that's something you're interested in allowing users to do, that's something you definitely want to test. For some reason, it didn't add it. But that's okay. Oh, because I didn't hit save. Turkey. There we go. Any questions about that functionality? Okay. Barreling forward. One thing to note, when adding products without a price list, it auto overrides. I don't know if you noticed, but it auto click that override pricing to on whenever we added them without a price list. Okay, activities. Rich text search in the timeline. It's pretty snappy, I've noticed. You can do some formatting with your notes now. It's just not straight text. You can, they've done a nice job of adding some good, desperately needed information on the timeline. For example, you can see at a glance if it's open or closed, which is extremely helpful. Expanding and collapsing works nicely, and you can close right from the timeline. Also available now is the Kanban view. I don't recommend putting it as your default view because I noticed that it does make the associated activity views blank. So the Kanban view, if you turn that on and you decide you like it, I would not recommend turning it on as your default view. And all you have to do is set the Kanban view on the activity entity, and you will be able to use it for all of your activities, even if you are looking at them individually. So if you look at emails and you don't happen to be in the activity views, you can still use the Kanban view. Okay, what's that look like? Let's go back here. So first, let's look at how this looks in your browser. So you'll notice here, and let me move my mouse off of it so that it's a little bit easier for you to see. You now have these nicely detailed, this activity is closed, and this activity is active. Before, it was really hard to tell that. I think you could mouse over an icon. Yeah, you can mouse over an icon and it would tell you that information. Now they've got it loud and proud for you, which is very nice. You can also, this is an active one, I'm going to close this. It does pop open something for you to complete, but you do not have to go into that activity to close it, which is really nice. If you want to see additional information, all you have to do is click on that activity and it drops that down. I have done some testing on doing the old trick where you put one letter in a row and then return many times to see how long it'll go. You can get quite a lot of information that will expand here for you. And then from here, you can also assign, add it to a queue, open it, or throw it in the trash. And you'll notice if you look at a closed one, that that checkbox is no longer available for you because this one is already closed. Okay, and let's navigate over to the Kanban view right quick. Here we can see a little bit of what I was talking about in regards to the differentiation in our headers, which is really nice. And let's change our view. So to change your view, you're going to go over to the ellipses on its side. I haven't figured out what that thing is called. If anybody knows, let me know. And click this to show as, and I'm going to click Kanban. So this is going to separate it into these particular status reasons. Sorry, the name just went pew. Status reasons. And as most of you probably already know, you cannot modify the activity entity. So this is what you got right now for activities. From here, you can modify what you have on your cards. Full disclosure, I have not been able to figure out what cards they're using to see if I could modify them myself. So if you guys know that, let me know. I would love to know what that is. So you can, right from here, make those updates. And you, of course, could filter that to whatever different time you want it, whatever different due date and your activity type that you wanted to see. This is something new I noticed as well. You can actually click on, for example, if all you want to see your emails and maybe phone calls, then that will filter your views to those particular types of activities. Something else to note about views. Now, if you have a personal view, typically those personal views would show at the bottom of your list. Now, if you have personal views, they're going to show at the top of the list. So I have mixed feelings about this. This is throughout CRM except in when you're looking at activities. For some reason, they don't have those shown at the top, but for like your accounts, contacts, opportunities, your views, your My Personal Views are going to show at the top. This is great for folks that don't have a lot of personal views, not so good for people who manage views for their organization and share them rather than adding them as system views. So this might be something that will prompt you to review the views that you're using and sharing and maybe make them into system views. Please remember, with the unified interface, you have a lot of control now over what system views are displayed, as opposed to if you're using the classic interface. Okay, back to our PowerPoint. Okay, good deal. Team member licensing. So there is now a sales team member app that team members will be using. After April 20th, again, I haven't seen anything specific around the licensing enforcement on this. Excuse me, so I don't know if they're going to be pushing it to May 2020 or not. Regardless, either way, when they start enforcing it, your folks that have team member licensing will only have the team member app, and that's all they'll be able to use. I don't know about you folks. Although we have tried many times to use the team member licensing, typically there's one or two things that users really need that that prevents them from using the team member licensing. But the key around this is they're going to be enforcing it. Users will no longer be able to use other apps. So keep that in mind if you do use that licensing. And just to show you really quickly, I'm going to drop this down. Sales team member. Very trimmed down. For anybody who hasn't used the unified interface or didn't realize this was an option, this is a great example of how much you can limit what folks see when they are using apps, model-driven apps. This is about all that you're going to be able to see if you are using the team member license. Okay. Document management. So the reason I have both question mark, no exclamation point is this functionality is currently only available on these entities. Now, even though technically customer service does use accounts and contacts, this functionality is not available yet on cases. So keep that in mind. My hope is that for some reason, case management always has been a little behind the curve. Not sure why, doesn't get as much love, but hopefully in the next release, maybe they will release this functionality to cases as well. What this allows you to do is to use the Word templates. And when you have those Word templates installed in your environment, then you can use this PDF functionality to automatically create PDFs from those Word templates and save them either to the notes section or to SharePoint. Highly recommend if you're not using SharePoint or some other outside of CRM tool to save your documents, that you start doing that. Because that is a great way to free up space in your online environment. And setting up the out-of-the-box SharePoint integration is actually pretty easy. You might not love the way that it automatically manages it. There are some ways that you can mitigate that by doing some customizations. For example, you can use Flow or Power Automate to maybe make some changes to that. But if your organization just wants to set up that SharePoint integration, it's actually pretty easy to do. And then you can start saving these documents into SharePoint. Important note, because I tried to do this to see what would happen, and it spun a long time, and I didn't have access for a while. Please remember to have your SharePoint integration already set up before you try to use this functionality. Otherwise, it will spin and spin and spin, and then eventually tell you that you can't do what you did because of you don't have the integration set up. So let's see. How does that look? Let me go back to good old ADatum. I think I left this one on. I did. Okay. So here, when you turn on the functionality, that is also in the app settings area. When you turn on that functionality, you're going to have this button available to you. You also notice you have email as PDF. Any Word templates that is available to the organization or that you have uploaded yourself will be available here for you. Once you click on that, it's going to ask you if you want to save it in SharePoint or to download a copy. I'm going to click download just because it's a little bit faster. And I think I already have a sample in SharePoint. So what that's going to do is that's exporting that to my desktop sometime soon. So much for, I shouldn't have said it was faster. It hurt me. And then here you go. So here's an example of the out-of-the-box, an out-of-the-box Word template. Great way for you to kind of get used to using those. As you can see in Word templates, you can do one-to-many relationships. You can add tables. There is some flexibility to that. I will tell you, if you are trying to do any relationships that are more than one hop away, so for example, if you are trying to get from a child record to 2 records above that record, it's not as straightforward with Word templates. You can do it, but you have to do some customizations. There are several tools out there that can help you do that. MS Add-ons has one. I think Power Objects has one, but I'm not sure. But if you are going to be heavy users of Word templates, you might consider looking into those other options. Okay, where's my cursor? There we go. And then if I wanted to, I could have saved this and it would have saved it into my documents area where my SharePoint site has been created. As I mentioned, you also have the email as PDF. This does not use the new compose functionality. This is, as you can see, it's opening up a typical email, and that has that attached already for us. So we can just have that attached. It's already got the regarding on here because we created it from this account, and then we can send this email off. Okay. Okay, what's next on the agenda here? Out of the box, I think it had quote and account on. I think those are turned on automatically, but then you can get, these are the other entities that you can turn on as well. Kanban view for opportunities. This will allow you to choose looking at your Kanban view for based on the stages of the business process flow or the status of the opportunity. Currently, it only works with the out-of-the-box opportunity sales process, business process flow, but I did notice that if I updated some of the stages, that it did respect those, so it did show those in the Kanban view. It shows you a total estimated revenue and number of opportunities at the stage at the top, which is kind of nice. And you can modify those opportunities as well. Another cool thing that it does is if you can't move an opportunity to one of your different columns, your stages, it won't let you move it. It grays that out for you. Okay. Let me get out of here because I'm in the team member and I don't want to be restricted. Oh, opportunities, apologies. Opportunities. Okay. Again, once you have that turned on, and your system administrator will need to turn that on for you in the background, it's a control that needs to be added at the entity level. Once you have that turned on, then you have this show as option, and you can turn on Kanban. As you can see, here is the totaling for estimated revenue and the number of opportunities you have in that particular stage, and they are all across the board for you here. And then if I want to change that over here on the right to status, it looks like everything's open. Somebody has been slacking off. You can also update these here right in the Kanban view, and these totals get updated automatically for you. Okay. So I've popped in and out of the app settings area in the Sales Hub several times. That is where a lot of things are probably going to be moving to. Right now, you sometimes have to switch between that area and the settings, system settings area, or the customer service area in order to make some updates. I'm sure that will change in the past once everything goes 100% to unified interface. Customer service. So looking into the customer service new items was especially interesting because, as I mentioned earlier, for some reason, customer service area doesn't get as much love as the sales area. There were hardly any pictures, hardly any additional information. Some of this stuff I kind of had to say, I think this is the update, because it just gave me some nice wording that there was a change. For example, the enhancements in the queue page didn't really give a lot of details around that. So I'm making a guess as to what I think that update is. Okay, let's move on and look at this. So knowledge base capabilities. So they've done some really neat things with knowledge base. They've actually got it as a separate area in the customer service app. So if one of your customer service folks wanted to go in and do some searching in there, maybe read up on some things, they can easily do that now. You can do a review in the full screen. I actually showed you those tables that were available in emails. Those are also available in your knowledge base as well. Okay, let's flip over. And let's change to our customer service hub. So here's your customer service hub. As you can see over here on the left-hand side in our navigation, we've got the knowledge base articles and the knowledge search. So this is where you would manage those articles, create them, modify them, publish them. But then we have our knowledge search here. Now, I got to admit, the first time I came in here, I was like, I got stuff published. Why isn't this showing up? It really is wanting you to actually add some search in here to look for things to reduce the noise. So I'm just going to type in travel. Oh, turkey leg. Let's see. I thought there was a travel one. Booking travel. Let's do products. Okay, so let's add the asterisk. Fantastic. Awesome sauce. Don't you love demos? Woohoo! Okay, so if I were going to be doing a lot of troubleshooting around this, I would say, okay, it looks like these are published. I'm not sure why these aren't showing up. Let's try using something that's at the beginning, like delivery. So let me try delivery. Still nothing. Okay. I actually tested this earlier and it all seemed to function correctly. Not sure why it's not functioning correctly right now. Ordinarily what would happen is when you type in search, then you would be able to see these knowledge base articles. They would be open for you. Let me open one of those up so you can see what they look like. So here's what the contents would look like, and it would be easy for you to review those and use those as needed. Let me see if they're not showing here. Odds of them showing on cases is pretty slim. I'm going to give it a shot anyway, just in case. So I'm going to open up case, and I am going to go to knowledge base article. Good suggestion, Jeff. So the way that when you're on a case, what happens is it actually autofills the case title in the knowledge base search. Based on this information, it has pulled, I believe, 6 different articles for me. You'll notice this one is already linked to the case. So what the customer service folks can do is they can click this linking icon, and that will associate it with the case. They can also go ahead and link this to the case and send it out to somebody. So for example, now if you're using portals, you can, and have your knowledge management on portals, you can also just send a link to somebody, and then they would use that link to access that knowledge base article on that portal. As you can see, it automatically inserted that information into the body of the email. It didn't attach it. So something just to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to take Jeff's advice. And I'm going to, type in travel. There we go. So Jeff's recommendation was to try full words. That seems to be working well in our case. You also have the ability to provide feedback. That's a setting you also can turn on. I believe this has been available. So you can get feedback from your customer service folks on this is a good knowledge base article. It's not as good. It also tells you how often this has been viewed. And then this is the last time it was updated. Okay. Case resolution. So previously, in the previous wave, opportunity case closure got some love, and you could modify that case closure dialog box that comes up when you are closing an opportunity. Now it's case's turn to allow you to do some modifications to that case resolution form. You have 3 options that you can set that to. You can create new fields to collect information on. Sadly, you still can't unrequire the flipping resolution field, which has been a constant source of challenge for any group that I've worked with, because they're like, I've already filled this in. Why do I have to fill it in again? I'm sorry, it's required. I did a little battle with CRM last night and saying, why can't I turn this off? But you can't. So it's still there, sadly. Maybe one day. The reason it is still there is because it is the subject field, which is the primary field for that entity, and so Microsoft won't let us unrequire because it needs data in it. I mean, I get it why. It'd just be nice to get rid of that. So I am going to resolve this case so you can see what this looks like. Previously, it would be like a little modal here that would come up. But now I've set it to one of your 3 options is the quick create, and then here is resolution type, remarks that you can fill in. Here's that resolution field I was telling you has to have something in it before you can close it. I even tried using, hoping once again that I could use maybe business rules to be able to manage it, but this field isn't available in business rules, just FYI. And I put this field on here just because I could, so that you could see that that was something you could do and you wouldn't just take my word for it. This, as with other pieces of the customer service area that you update, is now in the service management. And this one is service configuration. Right here, resolve case dialog. As you can see, you have the standard dialog, customizable dialog, and quick create. I just used the quick create because it was already available. Okay, so that's where you turn that on. This is also where, as you can see, some of the things like SLA management have moved as well. Okay. So originally I had team member licensing enforcement as a both, and that is for both customer service and for sales. But the team member licensing for customer service is a little bit different. So if you have a team member license for customer service, that person will only have the team member app, but the functionality is quite a bit different with that license for customer service. Apparently, it is for internal use and for employee self-service only. So it has very little to do with other areas of CRM. For example, you can create a case. You can read and update cases that you've created. You can use knowledge base articles, but you can't really manage other cases other people have created or cases for customers. It doesn't give you the ability to even add a customer, actually. Again, this enforcement will be in April, the beginning of April or the beginning of May, depending on which of those dates that they're going to honor. Okay. Queue page enhancements. So as I mentioned, there wasn't a lot of detail when I was doing the research for this around what this enhancement exactly was. It just said there was enhancements to the queue item page. So I'm going to go in the queue. I believe the enhancement is typically whenever you're working with queues, which if anybody has, they can be a challenge to work with because of the nuances of the way they work. What I believe the enhancement is if you have, I've got a case here, if I click queue item details, it opens a separate window about that. Sadly, that window is not very large. You have to open it a little yourself. But once you get it opened a little bit, one of the things that it does allow you to do is it allows you to click on the queue item and open that particular item in a different window while still having this available to you. So if you're a customer service person, you typically, even though you have out of the box way or the way that the customer service manager has set up your queues, often you're going to set up your queues the way you want. And if you just click on this to open the whatever the record is, when you navigate back, there's a good chance that this whatever sorting you've put in may get eliminated, and it goes back to the original view. So this way it does allow you to look at this, leave it open and available while you're also managing these other things. As you notice, though, it doesn't do something like the email composition did, where it just makes it small in the corner. It actually does go away when I click off of it. So, as I mentioned, I believe that is the enhancement based on the testing that I've done. Just for anybody who hasn't used queues, when you click on the title of whatever that is, then it will open whatever record that queue item is for. And right now this is for a case. Okay.
So Jeff Rath has a quick question. Can you
Sure.
right and click and open in a new window, or is that still not a thing?
So great question. I haven't. I'm assuming. Let's not do the assuming. So right click and new tab. So yes, still can. Which is my preferred. That way, at least you still have it up there and available to you without it having to be down here, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I have 50 things open. So yeah. And I believe this is the only other thing I have to cover, and it's a short one. So customer service, and if you are managing things like resources in your service area, then you have the idea of a site entity. And previously that wasn't available in the unified interface. Now it is, and you can actually attach that site entity to other entities than are related to customer service. Great. It's been a long time since I tried to use the site entity. I don't know if you folks are using it, but for me, this was not a super exciting thing. However, it is pretty exciting that it is now available in the unified interface, and you don't have to navigate back to the classic interface again to be able to get to that. So, so that is the site entity enhancement. Before I finish up, just so you know, anybody who is not used to working in the unified interface, as I mentioned, a big fan of the way it works. Don't worry, your settings area is still here. It's just under this gear right here. You just click on the settings and hit advanced settings, and this takes you to a trimmed down version of what the classic interface you're typically used to seeing. It's just going to be the settings area. So that is still available to you. More and more things are moving to being able to manage in the Power Platform area. There's still some pieces that aren't quite there yet that I've noticed I still have to go back to customizations in the classic interface in order to manage. So as you can see, you still can get back to this area, this settings area. Okay. So any questions about anything I've covered? I know it's a lot, but hopefully it gave you some ideas and let you know some things you can look forward to coming out in the next wave.
So if anybody has any questions, if you want to just let me know in the chat and then we can get you unmuted. I think my only question is, what's your favorite functionality, the new wave?
Having worked with several organizations that were pretty incredulous about the way that the adding products works, the being able to add multiple products at a time in an interface that is pretty user-friendly, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I would
Sales
agree.
forecasting is the best feature in Wave 1.
Oh, really?
Hands down.
The one thing I didn't cover.
It will revolutionize the life of any sales manager.
So, so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can show it if people want to see it. I also did two videos on CRM Tip of the Day about it. Okay. But I'd be glad to show it if you'd like to see it.
We've got some time. If anybody wants to take a couple seconds to make some coffee or whatever. Oh wait, did I make?
All right, let me pull up my demo and I will.
Go for it.
Nothing like on the spot,
right?
But Joel's always up for the task.
Always. Paige, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I learned so much. I'm really digging the Kanban control, actually, because I'm a big fan of custom control. So I can see several places where that's going to be really useful.
Yeah, there's a couple things with the Kanban control that are kind of weird that you need to know about. One is you can't just drag and drop. You drag and drop, and then it opens up the opportunity. If you don't save the opportunity, it doesn't move.
Gotcha.
So people are really excited to use it, but then they use it and find out it's not. I like it better for winning and losing opportunities because with that it's really simple. But if it only works with the out of the box opportunity sales process, which nobody uses.
No.
So for those reasons, I think it's a good step forward.
I just like the visuals. The visuals are pretty great. Okay.
All right, I'm ready. Okay, let me share.
Oh, the sales invoice
PDF, by the way.
Yeah, that was awesome. And just saying, Mary has a comment about in the F&O sales release, the sales invoice PDF is in there as well. I can definitely see how that would be a good addition to Mary for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go through how to set it up, and then I'll show you kind of how to use it. So I'm in the Sales Hub, and if you need to go App Settings, and then down here there's Forecast Configuration. This was actually a preview feature in 2019, but they have made it a lot better. They've added templates, so you can either have this based on org chart or territory, and you can have multiple forecasts, and people can be included in multiple forecasts. So if you have a customer that says, I want to have a forecast based on a certain industry or a certain product or a certain territory, you can do that, and you can have multiple forecasts. So the idea of forecasting is sales managers need more than just a list of opportunities. They need to have a way to more accurately forecast not just what's in the pipe, but what's actually going to close. And so most sales managers I've worked with have exported out the opportunity list and then done Excel surgery to get what they need. And I think this is going to reduce the need to do that. So you can set up something based on the org chart, which is kind of the manager hierarchy. So I report to Bob, Bob reports to Mary, Mary reports to Sue, that kind of thing. It will use that manager hierarchy. Territory forecast is territory based and uses the new parent-child territories last release. So I've created this forecast, and so it's super simple. If you ever worked with goals, this is so much better. Because sales goals have to be set up every time manually, where this can be set up for multiple periods. And so you can only do opportunities, but the drop downs, that gives me hope that they're going to open it up to custom entities and other stuff. And it uses a view to determine what appears in this view. So that's how you could have it be, like I want this forecast for this industry, I want this forecast for this industry. You can create views that have the opportunities that should go in that forecast, and that's what will make up the forecast. And then the top of the hierarchy, if you do organization, is where should the forecast end? What's the top of but it will give you this super great preview here, so you can see, okay, what's all the people, or what are all the levels in the hierarchy here? So if you had territory, region, director, vice president kind of thing, you could do that. And then you can choose it to be monthly, quarterly, or annual, and based on fiscal period, when does it start, how many periods. So this is how you could do a annual forecast that's split up into quarters, for example. When does it start, when does it end? Then you set up who can see the forecast. And so by default, it's just the users within the forecast, but you can choose to have that be all security roles, make it an open forecast, or specific security roles. You can then, with the layout, and this is where it basically is a pivot table. So you've got several fields that are default, like the user, the quota, and the user, the quota, but then you can add columns from an option set, and it adds a new option set called forecast status. Which has these values of best case, committed. So what it basically does is creates a pivot table view with the roll up of the value per each of those statuses. So you can use a totally custom pick list if you want to, and then additional filters that can, if I say have one company that's an outlier I don't want to include because I know they're not going to close this quarter or something, I can add additional filters above what's on the view. I could also, though, create new columns, and those new columns could be a formula, like a calculation. So if I want to combine my best case and committed into one column, I could do that. I could define a simple column, which is a column that I could import data from Excel into. So if you have some of your sales data that's not even in the system, you can still include it in your forecast. And then finally, this is where you can download the template, which will give you the ability to upload the quota data, and it will also let you upload the data for the simple fields. So that's what was missing before, was the quota. And so everybody's got a quota that they need to hit, but there's been no great way to track it. Now there is. The sales manager can export this. We'll give them all the people or territories within that forecast. Let them populate that and import it back in really, really easily. So again, you could set up multiple forecasts, and then way you can use this is back in the sales area. I can click on forecast and I can see, so imagine you're the sales manager, you can see what's going on with the sales forecast. I see this forecast based on the opportunities contained in the forecast. And so I can, if I had multiple forecasts, I could click the drop down and select different forecasts. I can also, though, click any level within the forecast and can see down here all the opportunities that make up that forecast. So I can see if it's, all these are one opportunities because I want all my opportunities, of course, but if they weren't, I can edit them here. And really cool, I can also manually adjust these. So it's very common for a sales manager to have a list of opportunities and say, my gut is that this is actually a different number. And so they can then adjust this amount. So 3.8, maybe it's 3.5 million, add a note and adjust it. And it'll always tell you what the unadjusted amount was, but you can adjust that. So that's where it shows you a nice graphical here of how close we are to how close we are in our forecast. So that's what I think as far as is one of the most exciting features, because I have sat with customers and said, okay, how do you track your forecast right now? And they pulled out an Excel pivot table that basically looked like this. And the fact that this balances opportunity data in the system, and oh, by the way, you like that Kanban view, you can turn it on here too. So this will save sales managers a ton of time, and I think it combines data in the system with flexibility to do things like import values for things that aren't in the system or to manually overwrite them. And so I think this will make a lot of sales managers and people farther up who can see that roll up very happy.
Definitely, that's awesome. I've linked to the CRM Tip of the Day video one in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at that as well. But yeah, super, super cool. I just sent that to our CRM admin. I was like, have you seen this? So yeah, that's really awesome. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate that. All right, so is everybody ready for the session I've been waiting for? Because I don't have any kids and I really want to hear about this. How do I not murder my cats? That's what my session would be. We've got Mary Thompson up next, and she is going to talk to us about her experience working from home. Before I do that, Paige, do you normally work from home or are you normally in the office?
I've been lucky enough to work from home for quite a while.
Okay.
I've been with C5 for, it'll be 9 years this year, and
Awesome.
most of that time I've been able to work from home.
So not much of a change for you then?
Well, a little bit, because now my husband and my son are here. So that part has been a little bit of a change. We just upped our internet just this week because we were having some issues, with everybody doing their thing. So.
Yep, I hear you on that. Exact same here as well. My sister is teaching music lessons, so I get to listen to 7-year-olds try to sing all day. It's really fun. Yeah, and play the tin whistle. Yeah, it's great. All right, Mary, I made you presenter. Are you good to go?
Sorry, I had a little lag.
You're good.
I was screaming at my son. I'm like, get off the Wi-Fi. Because I just said it. I was like, get off the Wi-Fi. I'm going to need that right now.
Awesome.
Oh, great. So I'm really excited to have everyone here. And, when Emma asked me to speak, I was like, well, I'm not really sure, but I could come up with this topic. What do you want me to talk about? And so we're completely off the D365 spectrum. Thank you so much, Paige, for an amazing presentation. Now we can kind of mentally sit back on a Friday and just enjoy a little presentation here. Do I have a lot of feedback? Should I turn off my video? No, we're good? Okay.
That's good.
All right, let me screen share. Sorry, I'm new to GoToMeeting.
So there should be a little monitor button at the very top.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure. I've got 3 different screens, so it was like, which one am I sharing? Okay. Can we see we're good? I can't see what I'm sharing.
A Word document.
That's not what I want you to see. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's definitely now that I see the Word document that it was showing, it's definitely not what I needed you to see. Wow. I can tell you how to work from home but not manage technical difficulties.
That's okay.
Give me a second. I don't know why it's so strange. Let me stop my webcam for a second and just see if I'm having, every time I hit the drop down to change my screen, it's
So we're
bringing
now
it.
seeing enterprise documents.
So it tells me that it's not sharing. Okay. This is amazingly disastrous right now.
No, you're okay. It happens to the best of us.
I may just do this with no PowerPoint presentation if necessary, because this.
If you want to email it to me, I can put it up on the screen. That's helpful.
Yeah, because it keeps doing this, and I'm not. Let me just do that.
Yep.
Sorry about this, y'all.
No, it happens. Don't worry.
I'm not quite sure why it's doing that.
No worries. But I guess that the question everyone wants to know, Mary, is have you murdered your kids yet?
No. You know, I have not. He was alive earlier. I was doing a little social experiment as well as I was doing the meeting. As Michael was presenting and my son was in the background, I was like, I wonder if this is distracting. I may need to ask about this later.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Send this over real quick.
So while we're waiting for Mary to do that, does anybody have anything fun they've been working on since we last met up, or any exciting movements in their projects they wanted to share? All quiet, everybody's projects are going perfectly? That sounds normal.
I mean, it's almost 12 o'clock. We could all have mimosas in our cups. You don't know.
I ordered stuff for Bloody Marys. That's the first thing I'm doing when I'm done here.
That's great. Okay. So I sent that over to you.
Okay. Great. Did you send it to my Click Dimensions email?
I think so. I hope I just sent it to you. I'm getting all flustered. Who knows where I sent it at this point.
It's okay. Don't worry. It happens. Let's see. Maybe here.
I believe it was your, yeah, Click Dimensions.
Perfect. Okie doke. Let's see. Might just be taking a second.
Notice in real life, nothing ever goes perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there we go. Cool. Alrighty. Let's get this show on the road. And if you just want to shout at me and tell me when you want me to change the slide, that would work great.
Okay.
Alrighty. Everyone can see that?
Yep, I can.
Where is the, how do I PowerPoint? There we go.
So I think we go up here and we hit, yeah, there you go. You should be good. All right. So I feel like this is kind of how some of us may feel at this point in time. We're all here in the North-South Carolina region. So I think we're on about week 2 of work from home with our spouses and children. So, feeling a little bit crazy. But don't worry, we've got some tips and tricks today on how to avoid that. Go ahead and move forward, Emma. So we've seen a lot of negativity. I can't stand to watch the news right now. It makes me want to cry. It's just statistics and everything we've got going on. So I thought we would start by taking a look at some of the fun memes that have been going around, because at least those are humorous and fun. I liked this one. I thought it was pretty apropos. We're having Spirit Week at home since there's no school for the kids. Today we're kicking it off with Meltdown Monday. So hopefully we can avoid that in a few days. And then we have our next one, which, like, so if you see my kids locked outside today, mind your business. We're having a fire drill. You come for the funny? All right. And then the next one is, I really like this one, is all these kids been learning Common Core math are about to learn how to carry the one from their new homeschool teachers. Because if you've looked at your kids' math, the way that they do division and regular math, I don't know what they're doing. It's like a new art project. So I thought that was a good one. And, you know, I think overall some of the aspects that we've had is, if you want to go to the next slide, Emma. You know, we have these expectations for ourselves, and so do our boss. I put animations in, so you may have to click. Yeah, of how we thought that this experience may be supposed to go in, or how we want it to go, you know, everything perfectly and controlled. But in reality, maybe it's looking a little something like this. We're all familiar with our schedules, right? So waking up, or you wake your kids up, then you wake up a little bit later. We've got some screen time, you know, just kind of a big chaotic mess happening and going on. So I wanted to take some time today to say, well, how do we change our reality? Maybe find some type of mix. And like I said, we're way outside the D365 realm today, and maybe you're kind of wondering, well, who is Mary? Why does she have any reason to tell us how to work from home, or how is she going to tell us how not to kill our kids? He's still alive. We asked earlier, so it's proof. He's not dead yet. So, you know, my thing is I wanted to kind of step outside the realm and show you a little bit of why I have some street cred in giving some advice here. Now, like Paige said, she's been doing kind of a work from home for about 9 years as well, and it being a little bit different whenever your kids are here. Well, my work from home journey started probably about 10, 11 years ago as well. I was actually in College of Charleston at the time, and I found out that in 9 months, things were going to change very significantly. And they did. And I had to make a lot of changes to adjust to my new world of being a mom. So I went from going to school in a traditional setting to working full-time and going to school full-time. And it was certainly not an ideal situation. It's not what you want to do. I mean, you work all day and you go to school all night. But for me to get where I needed to, this is what the option was really going to need to be. So away we went. And sorry, from there, it took me probably about 7 years to finish my associate's degree and my bachelor's degree. And I often say that my son learned how to, well, not say, he learned how to walk when he was like 8 months old. And I often say it's because he got sick of waiting for me. You know, I'd be like, oh, I'm sitting here typing on the computer. I got to finish this sentence. I got to finish this project. And like, we dropped the keys over there like 10 minutes ago. I'm like, just give me a second, you know? And so it was like, he got sick of it. Because most kids actually end up walking between ages like 9 and 12. So, you know, we made it. And then I thought, great, I finished school. Well, life's going to be great. Not so much. So then I ended up working like 2 and 3 jobs a lot of times because I had to make enough money to be able to support the both of us. So what that looked like is, at that time, LogMeIn had just came out. I think it's actually similar to GoToMeeting, so it's kind of ironic that I'm stumbling sharing screens. But so I've got my degree in accounting and business management, and so I would find different clients to do bookkeeping, and I would install LogMeIn on their computer, and I would do my work during the day. I had classes online, and then whenever my son went to sleep, I'd log back in, or before he went to sleep, I'd log back in and I'd, type in and I'd do their bookkeeping. And then maybe on the weekend, I was flipping houses or painting. I did promotional modeling work, all kinds of different jobs. I mean, it's just steady work. Well, it was a lot harder when my son was 7 months old opposed to a toddler too. I will say that as well. And he would start saying little things like, I wish you could come to lunch with me, but I know you have to work. Or, I really wish you could go on this field trip, but I know mommy has to work. And then one day I was sitting there at work and I needed a mental break, and I'm scrolling through Facebook. Not that anyone would ever do that. I know, but I was the only person that ever did it. So I was looking on there and I see all my friends, and they've got these adorable pictures of them and their kids, because it was May, and they were at Muffins with Mom. I'm thinking, I didn't even know there was Muffins with Mom. Like, what in the world? And when I asked my son that night, I was like, Bo, what happened? Like, I saw everyone have these pictures. Like, where was my invite? And he was like, well, I know that you're so busy with work. I just didn't even invite you. And I was like, oh, it was a really big eye opener to kind of how I was doing things and what I was doing. And when I looked back, I missed out on a lot of time. And sure, I was doing what I thought was the right thing to do. And I was, working my butt off to be able to create a career and show him that, and to be able to support us. But somewhere in there, I lost sense of the why. I think Michael said that earlier in his thing. We have goals, but, it's really important to focus on the why. And so my why was him, and I was losing sight of him. So, I wanted to, when I think about COVID-19 and everything that's going on, and everyone's really stressed out, and they're like, I'm going to kill my kid. We've got all this stuff going on. And yes, it is super frustrating. But I look back at it and I'm like, I have a second chance to do things a little bit differently and to get some time back with him than I did before. So that's where we're going with some of this. And I kind of wanted to give you some background to say, okay, I'm not just up here and like Pinterest a bunch of different reasons on why you should do this or not, but like these are legitimately my mistakes and things that I want to do different moving forward as well. So now, Emma, if you want to go to the next slide, there's going to be lots of clicks. So I've noticed at these UG meetings, everyone posts pictures of their cats and dogs. I'm not an animal person. I'm obsessed with my kid. So here's a great opportunity for me to do a quick plug of some adorable pictures. So as I mentioned, this middle picture real quick here is literally when he was a couple weeks old. You may see the table here. There's an actual laptop. This is me doing my homework. I'm not lying. This is real life. And this bed here, this couch was my office, and it was my bed, all in the same area. Then you can see this cutie over here in the left. He is working at the IRS doing taxes. I was also bartending, so we're over here on the right-hand side taking inventory. But all that work really makes you tired, so sometimes you just got to take a nap. And he always worked with me no matter wherever we went, whatever office job we had. I'd give him little tasks. Right, you keep them involved and keep them going. So he was always vacuuming my little offices, still real tired, knocks us out. And then finally, we see where we're at now. So here's our progression, and as you saw earlier, it's our little office in the back here. So thanks. So like I said, so now that we've got some of this established and why I've got any credibility to sit here and talk about things, you know, I think that the first thing that comes to mind is time management. Things are really crazy right now, and I think a lot of the reasons that we feel frustrated is because we have so many tasks and obligations, and we don't know how to get it all done. Like, there's too many things to do and not enough time in a day. And so I think that for me, one thing that I've learned along the way is time management, which is being able to look at how many hours in a day and how are you actually going to make them productive. It's not just having this magical to-do list with no way to get it done. It's actually having a plan and a process. And I think that once you put some organization around that, it kind of helps bring down your frustration level, because now you know that it's possible. There's a plan. So we're going to talk about how that plan works. So if we move forward, tips and tricks. So our first tip and trick is we're going to talk about time blocking, and it's kind of a very specific method in how you can plan your day and your children's day. The next tip and trick that we have is how to specifically organize your day to be the most productive. And then finally, just because I'm not a Pinterest mom, maybe y'all aren't Pinterest mom and dads here, but if we have some easy resources, then it kind of goes into how to organize your kids' day. So I just kind of pulled some stuff together. We'll send the slide out and you have some extra resources if you want. I have a live Excel spreadsheet, but I'm not going to try to share my screen right now. I can kind of walk through this screen here. I'm not sure how to annotate, but we'll do our best. So as you can see, basically the concept is on the left-hand side, I write mine actually all out on paper, but on the left-hand side, you write your day down in either hour or half-hour increments and blocks, so that if you want, I'm an early person. So I start my day at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's actually where I would say that you should start. Not that you should start your day at 4 a.m., but you need to understand who you are as a person, right? Like, we can make some changes during this changing time. If you're more of a night owl, then you should capitalize on making your schedule start later in the day so that you can work through the night, not just say, oh, I'll do this, and then at this magic hour at nighttime, I'll get stuff done, but not really have a plan, right? If that's where your most productive time is, plan for that. Accordingly, I've got mine here as well. So traditionally, people are going to start at around 8 o'clock. So take your to-do list and take the things that are most important or the most difficult to get done in a day. Don't put them at the end of the day. Put them in the first thing, put them at the top of your list, because then you're going to be able to knock that off, and the weight that you'll feel lifted off your shoulders when the most pressing thing of the day is already done, then you can move forward. So you're also fresh, you're not frustrated. Find that kind of quiet time for you to start those projects. And then you work your way through that. Now, time blocking is an art form in some ways. Like, you can't just start day one and block every half hour out and say, I'm going to be successful and I'm going to be perfect. No, you're going to hate me and think that this is really stupid. I suggest that you start out with a lot of grace in large blocks. As you can see, I've got like a 2-hour block on this particular one from 10 to 12. Maybe I think it's actually only going to take me about an hour and a half to do that configuration, but I'm going to plan for a little bit more time, because you know that things are going to kind of happen. That way at 11:30, I'm not really frustrated because I'm already off schedule. I've got just a little 30-minute buffer. And as you continue this process through in your daily practice, you'll get better at that time efficiency. You'll have kind of new challenges. You'll say, oh, I don't need all of this time for that. I know I can do this, and you will get a more organized schedule in that. With time blocking, you know, it's not just for you. you right now, especially to me, this is one of my biggest takeaways, is time block your kids. They will get bored and bother the crap out of you if they don't have anything to do. I started this last week at 8:30 on Monday morning, and I can't say that my son was super excited every day in every project that I gave him. And there were some times where he's looking at me and I'm like, bud, I know, but you're going to be held accountable. This is what we're going to do, and you need to move forward. So he would finish his little project. At the end of the week, I heard him talking to his grandma and, you know, on the phone, and she was like, oh, I bet you're really bored, right? He goes, no, not really. So I was like, yes, you know, total win here. And that's one thing that I have to say and remind myself through the process as well, is while he may be, you know, mad at me under his breath, like, we're doing something good here. But block their time and just tell them what they're going to do, right? That's what somebody at school tells them what they're going to do all day. So do the same thing. And it doesn't have to be super elaborative. I've got some slides for that, but, you know, we do things like PE time, go outside and play some basketball. My son has been a big fan of his new engineering class. It involves Legos for like an hour and a half, 2 blocks at a time. It's all right. But the point of the blocking, and what you can kind of see here, is that you can block your kids' time to match your time, right? If you know that you've got some meetings and some scheduling that you need some quiet time for, send them outside. Give them some type of project that they don't need so much of your attention, or you know that you can occupy them for that period. That way, not to say it's perfect, but at least they're less likely to interrupt you during that time. Also, it's a good opportunity to kind of put some work back on them. They've got a lot of Zoom meetings right now, so you can have your children, instead of them asking you for those questions, you can kind of push it back on them. And, you know, they're having these meetings with these teachers. They can learn how to collaborate and ask the teachers themselves. So on the next slide, like I said, I've got lots of fun reinforcements on here, bunch of different websites that I've pulled together and kind of copied and pasted. I think it's a great area and opportunity to learn new skills. And so we've got some of that here. There's some free coding courses. We've got some Yale courses. This NASA Kids website is really, really neat. I don't know if anyone played Carmen Sandiego, but that's a really cool game that they have out. Again, also on the Power Apps community website, Sancho Hanker, I'm not sure if anyone knows him, but he recently, the other day I saw they have a new community site for kids. And right now it looks like a bunch of games that are specifically for kids. I'm working on a project where it kind of teaches kids to use an easy Excel spreadsheet to create their own Power App. Again, just something to give them to do right now. So I'm going to be loading that over there in that Kids Zone soon as well. This Duolingo is an app that I found that is super cool. Kids can learn Spanish or French, and it's free, and it's grades like K through 9. So I thought that that was really interesting as well. There's lots of virtual field trips, there we go, that they can take. Crash course. I wish I could share my screen right now. It would be a little bit different if I could get that to work right, because I was going to show you all of these. Crash Course is a really cool YouTube series that is 7 to 12-minute video clips. There's different history ones. There's programs that takes kids through teaching them artificial intelligence, data mining, soft business skills. I mean, when you're implementing these skill sets and children in elementary and middle school, think about where they'll be in the future workforce. So those are a lot of the resources that I have here. Sorry, let me find something real quick. So these are some of the tips and tricks to kind of organize your day, right? So these are some of the hows on how not to kill your kids, but I think it's also important to discuss the whys we shouldn't kill our kids during this period, right? I mean, that's important too. So one thing that I kind of sit back and think about and learn from my experience is I had to change my mindset, right? And this is such an important time period for that. If you stop and think, where were you on 9/11? What were you doing? Or, you know, when JFK was shot. There are some very monumental periods in history that we will remember for the rest of our lives. And right now is that for our children. They're going to remember this time for the rest of their lives and what they did in that period. And it's, if you think about, there's a bunch of people on social media that are talking about, you know, unfortunately, there's a bunch of kids that are at risk right now. They're at home more than they need to be home, where school is their safe place. And they're stuck there right now. And think about what life must be like for them. I don't want to be really honest with you. It really breaks my heart. So when I think about my frustration with my son right now, I'm actually really fortunate is how I feel, you know, and it's like, how do I want him to remember this time? And I want to learn to be more patient myself so that whenever he, you know, continues on in his life and in his future, he remembers that we did something great. We did something amazing during this period, you know, not that I was so frustrated, you know, and that's a big takeaway that I have from previous, I don't know what you want to call it, from my past experiences, is that kids are smart. And when you're frustrated, they know you're frustrated, but they're kids and they hold that frustration. They think that you're frustrated with them. I used to think like my son was kind of like on pins and needles. He's kind of like, you know, just always just startled very easily. And I think that was because of me and because I was always frustrated. I was always stressed out. Like if you've ever tried to teach your kids to read, it takes a whole new level of patience. And you're just sitting there and you're watching the clock and you're like, all right, that was a great job reading and we'll finish the rest tomorrow, because you can't handle it, right? But it's also a blessing. So it's like I kind of think about those things right now and I'm like, okay, I don't want him to remember this as the most frustrating period. And that's kind of what I want to encourage everyone else to do too, is say, okay, they're going to think about this. And do you want them to think, man, my mom or my dad was super stressed out. That COVID-19, I thought we were all going to die, you know, we never got the virus. You know, I don't want that. Maybe you don't care. Maybe I care too much. I don't know. But that's one of my reasons on like why we should not kill our kids right now, is because they're the future generation that we're going to have. They're going to raise our country in the next time going forward. And we want them to learn something right now. And I think it's also a good time. As you saw, my son was watching me. He sits and watches with me at work a lot. And when he was little, he used to run imaginary companies instead of having imaginary friends. They were all trucking companies. His employees were dogs. Like he had it all put together. And in some of the pictures you saw, I was running an electrical contracting company at the time. So it makes perfectly good sense why he would have this play concept. And I say that because kids watch us, and we are raising the future generations. And why not use this opportunity right now to show your kids what a great worker you can be, and how to be cool and calm and collected, and treat your coworkers with respect, and treat your children as co-workers and with respect, and know that that's the legacy that you can leave, you know, for our future generations by giving them something to go on right now. Also, I guess kind of my final thing with this is, I'm not sure if it's distracting or not when my son was in the background, but I think that's a really great time to try to change some social norms that we have wrapped around business and family and work. And, you know, I see a lot of things where people are like, oh, my manager doesn't trust me to work from home. Or I know as a mom, a lot of times I feel really guilty if I have to leave early or even on time to put focus on my kid, right? Like I'm trying to compete with these people that act like they don't have a family, and it's just like this perfect persona, and it's hard. And there's so many times that I've been willing to kind of push my son to the back to compete on that level, but at what cost? And I think that right now is a really good opportunity because we're all facing the same thing. All of our bosses are doing the same thing. We all have kids screaming like banshees in the background, and we can't do anything about it. So, you know, for one time I say, why not see if we can change something? Why can't we try to make this a little bit better moving forward? Why can't we act like real people? And whenever your kid is screaming like a banshee in the background, maybe you throw the meeting on mute if possible, if you're not already, and like bark like a dog back at him or something, you know, like have fun with it, make them laugh. Like we all have to get through this together. And if you're sitting there, he's laughing at me. If you're sitting there, you know, frustrated with each other, everyone's going to be frustrated all day. But if we can take this time to break down some of these normal barriers, and whenever we return to normal, make it easier for everyone and with families, and kind of reestablish that work-life balance, then, you know, work from home can be more appropriate for everyone moving forward. While there is some really hectic areas right now as we're navigating through things, I mean, think about the flexibility that it would offer you and your family if it wasn't a full-time position, but just if there was a lot more flexibility there, and to teach and show management and organizational hierarchies that we can have families, and just because we put them ahead of things sometimes doesn't mean that we're any less dedicated as employees. And that a lot of times, you know, when you're able to multitask all of those different things, think about what they're getting done, opposed to maybe a younger counterpart that rolls in hungover in the morning, you know. So not to hate on anyone, but it's not to say that just because we have families and these other obligations that are real and that sit behind us or scream in the background doesn't mean that we're, you know, any less of employees. So we shouldn't kill our kids right now for the sake of our bosses, right? Because at the end of the day, we have our kids and they're our family and they're everything for us. So our jobs kind of come and go. So it's kind of important to not lose sight of that. So kind of in conclusion on different things today, in first, how not to kill your kids, get some structure in your day. Whatever that looks like for you is what you need to do. But I recommend finding a appointed day that works best for you, whether it be morning or night. Then time block your day out. Put all of your to-do lists in a schedule. When you know that everything's going to get done, you can rest easy, so that when your kid comes and pokes you on the shoulder, you can take a second to say, okay, yeah, that's not how you do that, or this is what you do, and then send him on your way with a smile, without frustration, because you know that you have a plan to get everything done. Time block the same thing for your kids. And then as you're going through this experience, remember to sit back and make some memories with them, because they'll remember this for the rest of their lives. And let's go ahead and change things for the better moving forward. Even though we're in a turmoil period, it doesn't mean that we can't find some triumph on the end. Thank you.
It was awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mary. I really appreciate that. And even as someone who doesn't have any children, it definitely kind of gave me some things to think about, like even just, time blocking and time management, etc. Cool. So that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Mary, or even if they want to share any comments or any tips or tricks they have themselves?
That was great. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
Are you going to start time boxing time with your cats, Emma?
I mean, they're priority, so if they come to me, I'm stopping anything. I don't care what happens. Great. Well, if nobody has any questions, we will pretty much wrap it up there. The rest of the PowerPoint that I have is just the usual stuff. There will, of course, be the standard survey that goes out. Of course, things were a little bit different this time, so just kind of bear that in mind. I haven't put down like a time and date for our next session because obviously things are in so much flux right now. But if anybody does want to speak at our next user group, whether that be a virtual one or one in person, definitely please let me know, let myself or Chuck know. We'd be more than happy to have you. We would really love to have some like member showcases. If there's something that you've been working on recently and you want to share that with us, that would be fantastic. And apart from that, I hope y'all have a really great weekend. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, hug your kids, pet your cats. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.